before starting a session, I would request everyone to place your right hand on right head, and we'll recite a motto. We'll start with a motto reciting.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामंशो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यति कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
We have an important announcement. All the participants are requesting for the presentations for all the Excel webinars. So we are gathering all the data and we'll share with all the participants. All participants will receive it in their mail IDs. So after the series end, we will share it with all the participants. Okay. So a very warm welcome to CA Dhaval Paun sir. Sir has been giving lectures to ICI Ahmedabad branch for a very long time. He has also been faculty at Ahmedabad branch for Excel as a forensic tool and practice management software. He is also FFD faculty and ITT faculty at ICI Surat and Rajkot. He is a practicing chartered accountant. Apart from that, he is also DISA, CFE USA, FFD. He has been engaged in banking and forensic audits in traditional practice, as well as is also providing US clients remote services in the areas of bookkeeping, Excel automation, Excel tools for business processes, and complex Excel models involving Excel DBA and business consulting. He is also certified QuickBooks Online Advanced Pro Advisor and helps small and medium US businesses in achieving automation in bookkeeping in QuickBook Online with third-party apps. He has extensively worked with San Francisco-based startup OnPlan in their product development phase. He likes experimenting and adapting new technology to achieve productivity in execution of all professional tasks. He has delivered CP lectures on Excel as forensic tool and practice management for CAs at Ahmedabad branch of ICI at various occasions. He is also outsourcing services for CAs at Bhuj ICI and Shivakasi ICI. He is also giving services and practice management at Kozhikode ICI. So I would request sir to please take charge of the session now.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. And also thank you, Ahmedabad ICI team, for inviting me on various occasions to speak on the areas which I am interested in. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for giving me, inviting me once again to speak on the Excel topic. So if you can just confirm that my screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So let me start with today's topic. That is, and yes, welcome all the participants. I can see there are close to 100 participants. So Very thank you for coming to this session. I hope I will make most out of your time and give you some more insight on what you already know. So, before going into the topic and showing you the tricks and strategies in Excel charts, actually advanced Excel charts, let me give you a brief trailer of what we are going to cover that will ensure that you will stick to the end. So let me give you a trailer of what we are going to cover in the next 2 hours. So in the first case study, we are going to see how to insert the secondary axis. See, the first case study, I have keep it simple, but I want to give you the overview of the all next case studies we are going to cover. That will ensure that you stick to the end. Yeah, right? So next case study, we will see how to have a dynamic target line. So we set the target and it will show which months have crossed the target and which months have not crossed the target. So it's kind of done dynamic tool which we are going to see. Next is we are going to see how to create a Gantt chart, which is a project management area. If you have a project manager, there are many dependencies on the various tasks which you have to do for some launch or some project. So for that, the Gantt chart is very much in use to see that what process needs to be completed before starting that particular step. So that is Gantt chart we are going to see very quickly. Next, we are going to see stock charts. We will not take too much time in that because we are all expert in understanding and analyzing this candle charts and stuff like that. But I will give you a brief overview on stock charts. Next, we are going to see the difference between the Excel charts and pivot charts. What are the advantages of pivot charts over Excel charts? And there is one particular disadvantage and how we can resolve this which with a small VBA code, which you can also try at your end. And at the last, we are going to see a dashboard creation using a simple chart tool and the slicer. Nowadays we have slicers to dynamically change the data in the chart. So that we are going to see. That will be the last case study for the day. So we are going to cover these 6 good examples for charts and try to add some value to our existing Excel chart knowledge. So, everyone has a very basic knowledge of charts already. So let's start with what we can see in this exercises or case studies. So this is the first data we have, and that has the year, the sales for the year, and the profit margin for the year, right? So let us try to put a chart for this data. So let me select the data, go to insert, and select one of the 2D column chart. So our chart is quickly prepared. Now we can see there are 3 series Excel has plotted over here. One is year, second is sales, and third is profit margin. But actually year is not a series for us. It's just a legend or axis values, right? So it's not a series to be plotted. There is no analysis in it. Actually, it's a label, you can say. So I will delete it from the series. So I will just select the blue bars which represents the year in blue. So if you select series from here also, or you can go to select data and you can see the chart data range which I have selected before inserting the chart is displayed over here at the top, right? And then Excel has identified 3 series in that data, but I want to remove the year. So I will remove year from here, and you can see instantly now there is only two series. One is sales and second is profit margin, right? But instead of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the axis label, I want to make it as year. So axis label range, I want to make it as year. The years we have are the actually labels. So you can see now we have the labels in place for the year, right? This much we have analyzed. So see, now let us delete this chart title, because we can make some good name of the chart if you want, or we can just delete it. Right. So now if we have to analyze this chart, it's very difficult, because I can compare the sales figure among the years, but when it comes to profit, I barely see the profit. It is very small compared to the sales data. So that's the reason why Excel gives us the functionality of secondary axis. So I can create a secondary axis in the right hand side. Let us do that. So I will go to change chart type, and I go to combo over here. So a lot of ways we can go over here. One is this. So that is to change chart type. And second, we can go is, selecting the series, but we cannot select the series because it's not visible at all. So another way is to, go from here and select series profit margin. So these are different chart elements we have. So I will select now. See, this is the profit margin, which is very, very low. So I will select that and then go to change chart type. And it will directly come here in the combo box. So there are two series, sales and profit margin. So instead of, like making it, I can select secondary axis from here, right? So I will select for profit margin, I will select secondary axis and press OK. So now my data for profit margin is in the secondary axis, but still it's not meaningful, because see, the both chart type are same, that is columnar chart, right? But if I can change the chart type profit margin to a line chart rather than a columnar chart, it will be more meaningful. So now you can see our chart is ready with sales data in one axis, and in the profit margin in the second axis in the right hand side. You can see it here. So now I can see, okay, in 2019 I have this much profit. Similar profit was there in 2020, but the profit margin has reduced quite a bit. With the chart only I can see that, right, visually. So that is the benefit of properly selecting the secondary axis for various chart series. And you can do a lot of, customization in Excel charts using the secondary axis. So this is what you can achieve uh, with the secondary axis and do a meaningful analysis. Now, the another way of doing the same chart in a single click is if you are using 2013 and above. So you just select the data, you go to insert, and if you see the recommended chart, you might not have that option in older version of Excel, but in new version there are. So if you just click recommend chart, they will already have that chart we just created. You don't have to, do that customization. Excel understand that these two series are way too different to compare in single chart or single axis. So they will themselves make it in the two axis and give it to us ready made. There are other charts as well if you can browse, but this is the one which is most relevant. So if I just click OK, the same chart, I'm deleting the title because I don't need it. The same chart you can see is created with just one click with the new Excel tool, right? So this is it. You can also change, if you want, you can change the color of this by going to format and format selection. So first select the series and go to format selection, and you can change the fill of it to make it like similar to what we have, right? Same way you can change this series as well. Right? You can increase the thickness if you want. So you can do a lot of customization later on to match the style. But what I'm trying to say is, secondary axis is important, and Excel understand nowadays that some series needs to be in the secondary axis. So this is our first, chart which we have covered. which is very simple, very straightforward. But let us go to the next dynamic target line. So over here, what is we are trying to achieve is, identify visually that which month we have crossed the target and which months we have not crossed the target in the sales. Although if there is a small data, we can easily say that, okay, in January, February, we have not achieved the target, but in March, April, we have achieved the target. But for an executive or in a C-level executive, they will be interested in visually see the data that they have. So this is our data. We have only one series. So let us try to create one more series, and we can say above target. You can say anything in the title. So I'm just identifying the months where we have increased the target, right? So I will write if the sales figure in the previous column is greater than my target, which I have already written in one box over here. So I will select that cell. So I will select the cell as this, which I have already put the target in, and I will freeze this F3. What I mean by freeze is I will press F4 to do so. You can see the dollar sign is there. So it will be constant for each of these months. But this B2 can change when we change the copy the formula down below, right? This is basics. So if the sales is greater, then I want to see the sales. Else I want to see 0 because I don't want to plot that series in the chart. So I'm just creating a new series. So I will just copy that formula down below, and you can see whenever that 200 is crossed in a particular month, the value is written, right? And it's already dynamic, semi-dynamic, you can say. So if you add 300, you can see now only few values which exceeds 300 is plotted in the next series, right? So once we have achieved that, let us try to insert a chart for this. So I will go to insert, go to chart and select this chart, right? I will just remove the title because now we don't need it for just this representation. So this is the chart we have, right? One thing I can do now is, this, I want to view only these color bars when we have exited the target line, right? I don't want to view the blue lines, blue column in that particular aspect, right? So if some way I can overlap this bar in this blue lines above this blue columns, then I can achieve that. So once I select this series, you can see that is selected. So let me zoom a little. You can see that series is selected. And also I told you, if you are not able to do it, you can just select the chart, go to format and select it from here, series above target. So that series is selected. You can series it, select it from here as well. All chart elements are available. And you can just go to format selection, right? So once you do that, you can see one option as series overlap. Currently is -27. So if I reduce it or increase it, you can see what is happening. So if I keep on doing it up to say 0, there are no difference between these two columns. The gap between those two has been reduced. So if I keep on adding those, it will start overlapping. And if I input 100 over here, you can see it's perfectly overlapped. So now you cannot find out the blue lines, which if it is above target, it is behind this bar, right? This color bar. So if you change it to 200 now, you can see whenever 200 has been crossed, like in this example now, this series is overlapping this series. So blue lines are not visible, right? Which is very simple to understand. So with this, we have achieved this much. This is really good. Now, what I want is, like I want to have a horizontal line. I want a horizontal line at 300 as well to visually see what is the target. Currently I can see from here in F3, but I want to have in the chart. So what I can do is, I can add new series. So I will go here and I will add a series called target. And for series values, I will select this 300, this cell where we have written the target, right? I will just press OK and OK. So now we can see the third series is plotted over here, which has only one value and which is in my first column itself. There are two columns behind it. Remember, there are three columns behind it. One is the 80, which is actual cells. One is 0, which is not visible because it's a 0. So if I change it to, say, for example, something below 780, so now you can see the bar behind it. This color bar is behind it, right? Or I can even change this to something like 400 to make you understand this bar is there already, right? So now you understand we have added a new series, right? So now as you already aware, I can, instead of the column, I can change the chart type to make it something else. In earlier example, we have made it a line chart, right? So in this example, what I will do is, I will go to chart design. I will select change chart type, right? So for this target line, what I will do is, I will select scattered chart because I only want a dot for that currently. I don't want any column for that, right? So you can see now this, you can view it, right? Instead of 300 series, instead of column, we have this dot, which is a scattered chart for 300, right? So now what I further want is, have a line across the chart for this 300 value. If it is 200, then I want the line across 200, right? So that I can visually see what is the target, right? So what I will do is, there is one functionality in Excel where you can insert a chart element called error bars. So I will go ahead and insert an error bar, right? So I'll go to chart design and I will go to more options. And there, what I will do is, currently the line I have achieved already, but which is only for one column. I want to increase it. And we know that we have 12 values. So I will specify values in error amount. So for positive error, I will just write 11 because I have 11 more columns, which I want lines for. And we don't want negative error value. So I will just write 0, right? Okay. So now you can see we have line across the columns, right? This is our error bar, which we are trying to achieve. But let us modify it, let us select that and go to format selection, right? I don't want caps. Caps are the ending points, like you can see in the chart. There is ending points over here, at the end. So I don't want caps. So I will just go to right click and format error bars. So I don't want caps at the end. Also, I can make the target line as red, right? One more thing I can do is, I can increase the thickness of the error line, right? What more? Okay. Now, see, this dot is not important to me because it doesn't make any sense currently. So I will just format that to make it invisible. So I'll go to marker and I will select none. I don't want to see that. So now you can see we have a nice target line, which is visually present. It also takes care like visually which columns are increasing the target. We have the colors, but we now have the vertical line as well, right? What more we can do is we can make this target to be dynamically changeable. Means like in the website or web-based tool, you must have seen you have the something called scroll bars with which you can change the value. So you can enable the developer tab over here. You can Google search how to enable developer tab. I'm not going to cover it over here, but it's pretty simple. And you can go to insert, and there is a form control. And the form control I want is scroll bar. So I will draw a scroll bar just besides the chart, right? And you can just right click it and go to format control. So we are formatting the control for that scroll bar. So now in this scroll bar, the minimum value will be 0 for our target. It cannot be below 0, right? The maximum value we can set as 600. The reason is we can visually see that the maximum cells is 600, right? So we can keep it as 600. And also we can select a cell link. We can select a cell which is a link to this scroll bar. So the value for which will be changing based on the value we select in the scroll bar. So I will just click OK and let you understand. So I just selected one cell. Now what happens is, like as I go down in the scroll, the value will keep increase up to 600, right? And at the top, it will be 0. But now what I can do is, like I want to change the actually F3, which is our target with this scroll and not this one, right? But what is currently doing is, like at the bottom, actually it should be 0. If you compare it with the graph, just with the scroll bar and the graph, if you compare, the 0 is at the bottom. But in our case, what's happening is, like 600 is the bottom, right? So I can tweak the formula in the target to make it 600, which is the highest, minus this amount. So indirectly, what we are doing is, like this F4 cell is getting changed with the scroll bar. And I have linked this scroll bar cell with our actual target. So if I have to put 600 target, so you can see it's currently doing this stuff for us, right? So if I have, like, for example, 300 as target or 400 as target, right? So this will be 198 and 600 minus that scroll bar position is 402. So you can see we have achieved a good dynamization. You can edit it furthermore based on your, like we can align this to have the, like the labels, like at the bottom it's 0, at the top it's 600, right? Likewise. So it's just simple. You just need to integrate all your knowledge in graphs, not only in graphs, but also in VBA macro or developer tools. You can just make it white if you want. You can remove grid lines. And now if you see this at a larger scale, you have a very nice tool where you can analyze the data, like in which month you have achieved the target, like the target you can set with this scroll bar. So this is our second exercise or second case study, which we have just seen, where very easily we can create something very dynamic like this. You understand? So that is the beauty of charts and coupled with a few tools like developer tools. We are going to see furthermore in this area in the last case study as well. But for now, let us go to the next case study. So before going to Gantt chart, which is project management chart, which we are going to see, let us understand what is stack chart, right? So we are starting our next and very simple example of stack chart. So this is our data for two division, dairy and non-dairy. Yeah, there is one query from Naman is saying, can't we reverse scroll bar? Yes, we can do this as well. So yes, we have two divisions, dairy and non-dairy, and we have 4 quarters data. This is the sales data for 4 quarters for 2 divisions, right? So let us try to plot that. So I will go to insert. I'll go to insert a simple 2D column chart. I'll just delete the title for now. Now we can nicely see the data in quarter wise analysis, and we have two bars for each quarter, one in blue color, one in this color for non-dairy, right? But if I have to also compare it in the total, like the total for quarter one compared to total of quarter three, I cannot easily do it in with this two, because there are two part of this totals, right? The total for quarter three will be this chart and this column, right? There are two columns for quarter three. So in aggregate way, I cannot uh, compare it. So what I will do is I will change the chart type, and I will try to see, and in the next chart itself, in the column, you can see stacked column. So let us do that and see what it makes us. So now we have the similar analysis, but what now happens is, instead of the two columns, there is one column, and the series are stacked uh, uh, upon each other, right? It's stacked, so it's called stacked chart. So now I can compare that quarter three in aggregate is higher compared to quarter one, right? So this is the stacked chart. I'm just giving you this before overview, because we are going to see Gantt chart next, right? In the same way, I can also change this chart type to be it a bar chart rather than column chart. So now I have made it a bar chart. Bar and column are similar. One is horizontal and other is vertical. There is no big difference in that, right? So now with this knowledge of stacked chart, let's move to the Gantt chart analysis. Just a second. So our Gantt chart here is the project, some project we are going to do. In this case is creating a model for Batman. So this is the activities listed down with the start date and what amount of number of days it's going to take. So at this point, we cannot easily make like before, like while I'm doing the design for chest piece, what other activities will be will be completed by this start date, right? So I want something visually present. So it's very important in project manager's role to have this kind of Gantt chart, and we can have a lot of advanced Gantt chart, but what we are going to do it right now is simple bar chart, right? A simple Gantt chart we are going to see. Now, before inserting the Gantt chart, let's try to understand one thing. That date is a number for Excel, although it's currently visible as date, month, year. But for Excel, it's a number 44 to 52. You can see. Also, if I change it to number format, you can see it's 44 to 52. And one more way you can identify the date is number is you can add a date with a number and you can have the result. So for Excel, this date is a number. It's not a date. It's just visible to us as a date, right? Let us try to understand that. And now with this knowledge, for Excel, both these series are numbers. So we can have the stacked bar like this. Like the starting date will be the first series and the number of days will be the second series, right? So this is we are going to use in our next chart. So let's go to insert. Let's go to bar chart, stacked bar chart, right? And let's try to insert a series for this. So we'll select the data, we'll add the first series, and the series name will be the start date. Now you are familiar with this interface, right? So we have selected the start date. So that is plotted in our graph. I can keep on adding the next series, that is our number of days, right? And the values will be this. So now you can see our charts are ready, and this is the first series and this is our second series, right? And now we will try to insert a name of the activity over here. So what we'll do is select data. We'll edit this to give a good label name. So our label names are these activities, right? It will make more sense to have that. Okay. So now we have that. You can see the test of survival is actually the last activity, but it's at the top. So we can, what we can do is, you can format this axis to make it in the reverse order. So we have option called categories in reverse order, right? So that is done. So now we have first one is for our table. The next thing we can do is, the dates are at the top, and also it's not looking good. So let's try to make it good. The one thing is, it starts with 3rd February, but you can see our earliest date is 25th February, right? So we know the number for 25th February in Excel is 44252, right? So what I can do is I can select that label or axis label and select that axis and format axis, right? So the minimum I want is 44 to 50, right? So now that minimum that for the first one, as we are starting from 25th Feb itself, so the blue line for it is removed, right? Also, we can make this date at the bottom rather than at the top, right? So we can go to labels, and rather than next to axis, we can say hi, and it will make it at the bottom. So now our chart is ready, is a bar chart. So 28 February from 25th to 28 is a blue line. And for the next 2 days, it's this line, right? Likewise. Now for our Gantt chart, this first series is not important to us, right? It's not like this. We want to see the only number of days it's going to take. So we can make it invisible. So I can do is I can right click and format data series. I'll go to fill and I will go and make it no fill. So it will be invisible, right? So our Gantt chart is almost ready. We can see that, like we can do a lot of analysis. Okay, the build arms cover. I can take a time up to, when this series is starting or when this series is ending, because it's the same thing, right? So I can plan accordingly, looking at this table, or I can say, okay, this I can start early because the previous activity is going to finish earlier and I don't have any other activity. So what I can do is, I can write 31st March 21 over here. Likewise. So you can accordingly plan your project, and okay, you see that here is the gap as well. And also you can see that this activity you cannot start before finish of this activity. So you can do a lot of this visual planning from looking at the Gantt chart. Also, while we have selected this series for number of days, let's try to format it to look it more better, like you can do a lot of stuff like, let's make it a little bit lightish and add a border around it. Okay, so you can do a lot of customization to look it better. So this is our Gantt chart, grid lines. Okay, so which we have created just now with the help of stacked bar charts. So till now we are covered the stack chart, the dynamic target line coupled with the sales columnar chart and secondary chart, right? So next, let us try to insert the stock chart. So for the stock chart, one thing to understand is, this is special chart types which Excel has built pre-configured. So it has to be in the same order. Like there are 4 stock chart types. As you can see in our presentation, there are 4 stock chart types which are high, low, close. Second is open, high, low, close. And then there is a repetition of these 2 charts, the same 2 charts over here. But now we have volume or data coupled with these 2 charts. So there are basically 4 chart types. And it can only be, it's not that it can only be used for stock analysis. It can be used for temperature as well. So any data which have high, low, close, open data sets, we can do such kind of analysis. And one more particular thing about this pre-configured chart in Excel is that you need to have a data in this order as well. For high, low, close chart, you have to have the data in this format, in this sequence actually, right? For the next chart, open, high, low, close, it has to be in this sequence. There cannot be any new column in between, because these are specially configured, pre-configured charts in Excel, right? Likewise, you have to have the data in that sequence. So let us see what is so unique about this chart types. So I will select the data, I'll go to insert, and I will go to this icon over here. And if you press, you have various chart types, and I will select the first one which says high, low, close. Use this chart type to show the trend of a stock's performance over time. Use it when you have three series of price values: high, low, and close. Okay, so we have that. So I just selected, and now Excel has created this chart for us. Now you can see there is a series over here. See, this is, let us first select the series. And our series is this close series, which is not visible. So let us try to format it to make it more visible, So what I will do is, I will add the marker which is more visible. Also, I can change the type of the marker to something which is more visible, right? Okay. So now we can see it's visible. The close is visible, which is very easy to understand. Okay, we have various dates and these are the close values. But more important to understand in this chart type is when I select this line, it's called high-low line option. You can see Excel has given from here also, you can see it's called high-low line, right? Line 1. Likewise. So this chart element is not available in other chart options, right? It's only available in this particular chart type, which is called high, low, close stock chart. When we see next chart, that is open, high, low, close, we will understand Excel has one more chart element. In this, we have high, low line options. In that, we will have something different. So these are two unique chart element which is available to only this chart type, right? So this is our first, and other thing is very simple, like this is the close value, and it has gone like the high and low is representing this line. So one item is high and one item is low. We cannot figure out how it's opened and closed from here, but we can just see the high, the lows and the close from this data type, right? We are all stock market experts, so I don't want to spend much time in this explaining this, what it means and how to analyze this. But this is now pre-configuredly available in Excel nowadays. The second chart is we have the open data as well, right? So we have the open data coupled with high, low, and close. So it will give us more insight in stock performance. So we'll again go to insert. We'll go to this icon and we'll select the second chart type, which is open, high, low, and close, right? So we'll just delete this. And now if you see, so the chart element which I'm referring to, the one chart element we have just seen, right? The line, which is high, low lines, right? We can also select it from here, high, low line like this. Yeah, so this one chart element which was available in this type of charts is we seen, but now you can see there are bars, and these bars are very unique. One time it's white, one time it's black, you can see. So if you select one of them, like we have selected white at present, so you can see up bar option. what up bar option means is the open is more than what we have as the closing is more than the open. You can see over here also, like open was 2691 and the close was 2714. So we have the up bar options. And the same way we have that in like at the bottom date, that is 2710 was open, but the close was higher. So from the open, we have selected this. It has gone up. You can see the data series we have selected close, right? Currently. And now this is the open. So you can see the difference. The open is at the bottom, close is at the top. So these white boxes are actually up bar, right? Meaning that the close was higher than open. And for that, to match it to our what we seen in the softwares, let us make it green because we are going up than the opening values, right? Same way, you can see these are called down bar options, which is nothing but which represents that we are going down from the opening. So opening was here and the closing is here, right? This is open. Sorry. Yeah, this is high value and this is close value, right? So these are actually where it's says the open was higher and it closed below the open line, right? So we want to make it as red. So this is the stock chart which is available in Excel nowadays, and which is makes very easy to have this kind of analysis very easily without having a lot of customization. Earlier it was also possible, but you have to do a lot of customization through secondary axis and stuff like that. Now it's very straightforward. You can do that, and then you can analyze some technical analysis which is outside our area of this lecture. And also I'm not too much good at technical analysis as you guys might be. Yeah, so but this is the chart type available in Excel, understand? Yeah. So let us try to move ahead. So in this chart type, we have the same as the first, that is high, low and close, and we have additional series as volume, right? So let us try to insert the chart for this. So we'll go to select, insert, select that icon, and I will select the chart as volume, high, low, and close, right? So now you can see we have those lines as we used to have previously. See that? But the volume is presented in column, like the column chart, right? So this is how Excel represent volume. So you can further analyze your data of stock market, like with the volume, how the performance is in the stock prices. So I will just format some of the elements to make it more good. Right? So now coupled with that high-low line, we have the simple column, which chart element is already there as we have seen in earlier charts. This chart element was already there, right? There is nothing new in column chart. Just the chart element which we already seen is here in this chart as well. So now let's go to the next and last chart for stock chart, where we have everything, including the volume, the open price, etc. Excuse me. So I will go to insert. I'll go to this icon and select the last chart type, which is volume, open, high, low, and close, right? So you can see as earlier chart, the volume is presented with these bars, and we have our up bar options and down bar options, right? So we can similarly format those to look it more what we are used to look or C. So I will make the fill as solid fill as green, and for this series or this chart element, I'll make it as red. Right? Now you can analyze this data with coupled with volume. Like when volume is increasing, how the performance is going. Like when volume is down, the chart, the overall price gone up, but it tends to close. Similar analysis you can do if you have more data, right? So till now we have seen a lot of chart types like the stock charts, your bar chart. Earlier we have seen stack chart. Also we have seen columnar chart, right? And we have customized to a great extent. So Excel has a lot many other chart as well, like the radar chart. You have, if you go to chart types, you have a lot of chart types, over here, like the maps, the radar, the surface chart. But what more interesting for us is to have some good analysis as a CA. We don't used to have such kind of data in our day-to-day life, right? We want more meaningful analysis. So for that, I have included these two case studies to make you understand what's the difference between chart and pivot chart, right? So this is, let's go to the next and try to understand how the real life situation might be for us for data analysis through chart, and how pivot chart is more important, how to create a dashboard out of pivot chart. So let's try to go in this area, right? So this is the sales data for few sales representative across various locations, region, customers, and various items they have sold. This is the data for a 1 year for these salespersons, right? So if I have to analyze this data to have the total for sales for each of these sales representative, what I can do is, first try to identify the unique sales representatives, right? So I'll select the entire column for sales representative. There will be duplicates in this, right? Because this is the entire year data. I just want the uniques. So what I will do is I will paste it, the entire column over here. And what I will do is, I will remove the duplicates. I will go to data and I will remove the duplicates, right? So there are only 5 of them left, which means these are unique values of sales representatives, right? Now I can have a sales data total with a formula like sum ifs, right? So let's try to put a sum if formula, because we want to present the total sales per sales executive with the help of chart. So I've started writing sum ifs. Our sum range means the total of sales in this column, right? Comma, the criteria range is in the A column, and our criteria is this sales representative for this cell, right? I will close the bracket, and it has given me the total sales for Sarah. Likewise, I can copy this down below, and now I have sales for each of the sales representative, right? You can see the total is 719771 at the bottom. And you can see the total of this is also same, so that we can make sure that our data is good. From this data, what I can do is I can insert a chart. I can insert a chart. So I have the sales data for each sales representative for the entire year, right? So this chart we have already seen, which we just created again. And what's so good about this chart? Okay, let's move this. This is very down below. So let's try to move it upwards. See, if we cut and paste it over here, the data may not be the linked one. Let's try to see that. Any which ways, let's create a new chart itself, because it's not part of our current but better way is to always, if you're dependent cells, always drag and drop rather than copy paste or cut paste. It will make sure if you drag it, it will make sure the formulas or dependencies are still there, right? So let us try to insert a new chart again. It's just simple 2D column chart. Okay, this chart I have created. Now the good part is about this chart is, if you modify this data, it will auto refresh. The Excel chart will auto refresh. But there are many limitations. Like each type of analysis I want to do, likewise, if I want to data for only January, then I have to again modify this formula to make it the data relevant for this sales representative and January, right? So I can tell you that if I have to do this kind of analysis, I have to input more conditions. Like I will keep on adding new criteria. Now the criteria, okay, again, see January is not readily available. So I may need a helper column as well. So a lot of stuff you need to do, like to do the analysis with the simple chart. So this is the first month. January is our first month, right? Likewise. So our criteria is now 1, right? So we can modify the formula that our criteria range now is month column, and it should have 1. So we can select this as well, or you can just write 1. So now we have data for only January. Okay, we need to freeze the M1 cell reference because it will be the same for each sales representative, right? So now the sales for January is this much, but you see how much steps I have to do to make this chart more relevant. So even a small change in criteria, I have to change the formula, I have to add helper column and whatnot, right? But we don't want that. We don't want that to be our daily routine for data analysis, because see, in real life you will never get the simple data. Like you want just one chart to be created, it will always be dynamic. You have to analyze a lot the existing data. So for that, what you can do is, you can just create a pivot chart out of it. So let's try to insert a pivot chart out of it. So I will go to insert and I will go to pivot chart. So see, in some options, they will have the recommended chart for pivot chart as well. But currently in like it depends on the data and the version you are using, it's not there. So what I'll do is I will insert the pivot chart from here myself. So it is the data I have selected. I want in the existing sheet. I will select the cell where I want it. I want just below this, or you know what, I can create a new sheet as well, but let's try to do it over here only. So I select this cell where I want the chart. Okay. So now what Excel has done for us is, has given us the pivot table fields where we can insert various fields, and the corresponding chart will be displayed over here, right? So let's try to analyze this. So I will activate the field list. I will drag the sales representative and put it over here. And I will drag the total sales and put it over here. Now you can see our corresponding chart is ready. The same chart we used to create over here, which is ready, right? You see that? What important aspect you can do in this chart is, you can sort it, say for example, for sales figure. So whoever has done the highest sale will be the first, which is Sarah. So this kind of analysis you cannot do in this chart, right? So let us try to, to make it comparable, let's try to remove the second criteria, just the total sales. So in here, you have to do it manually, like who is the second winner. So here is Patrick. But in this pivot chart, you can see the metric is here based on our filtering of the pivot table, right? I can also have, if I have a large data, I can also select the top 3, top 5, as we have already 5 cells representative only. What I'll do is I will select 3. So what it makes us is, like 3 cells representative will be there. I can do a lot of analysis, like in the same chart with the pivot chart. Like I can select the item. So now various items they have sold is presented over here. What I can do is I can add the chart element to have the legends for the labels. Like, so the blue ones are the junk item. This is stuff. Gray one is things, and others are widget, right? So I can quickly do a lot of analysis by just changing the pivot table. You see that? Which is not present in the traditional chart. So I'm just trying to make you understand what is the benefit of charts, pivot chart over normal chart. You can do a lot of analysis in here. But one of the disadvantages of this chart is, like if you change this data, our normal chart will refresh automatically. But if you see this chart, you can see there is no change. Like I have entered a very high amount for one of the sales representative. It totally displayed over here, making the other columns very small to not visible. But over here, it's still the old data. I need to right click and I need to refresh this data. So there will be refresh data button. Once I refresh, then you can see the other columns are very low. You see that compared to this entry. See, so you need to do a manual refresh over here, which you can easily solve by entering a macro. See, again, this table refresh automatically. This chart refresh automatically, the normal chart, but our pivot chart is not refreshed. I need to go here and press refresh. So to solve this one limitation we have in pivot chart, what we can do is, we can go to VBA and enter one code. So there are two ways, you can learn this coding with many ways. Like if you just Google it and you can find how to resolve one particular situation. Like this is very unique situation which will occur to you every time you are having a pivot table in your sheet. So you can learn once and you can use it many times in many files. The same thing I used to do in my developments as well. Whenever I use a pivot chart or any kind of this customization, I Google it up and I find the code and I insert it. But let's do in our this workbook currently. So we will select workbook and I will select sheet change, because at each change I need to refresh. I need to refresh these tables, right? So what I can select is, I can write is this workbook dot refresh all. What it will do is, every time the sheet change in this workbook, every object in this workbook will be refreshed. And there is one, like as I already know, there is one more thing you need to do. As there is a lot of dependencies there may be in the Excel, it will end up in the loop of refreshing itself. So to disable that before refreshing, what you can do is, we can disable the events. Yeah. So what I will do is enable event is equal to false. And once this refresh is done, I will again enable it. Right? Don't worry about this code. You can just memorize it or copy it and keep it sideways. And every time you have pivot table to refresh automatically, you can go to this workbook and insert this code, a line of codes, and it will do the trick for you. You don't have to write it again. You just copy it and make it a Word file and keep it, right? So as we have this code in place, I will just save this and it will ask me whether you want to save this as a macro workbook. So I will save it as a macro workbook, right? Okay. So now what will happen is, like this is our pivot chart and this is our normal chart. Let's try to make it more larger so then we can see it in action. So now if I change this value to something else, now both of these refresh automatically. So now the limitation of pivot chart we have is removed, right? We can now have auto refresh in place just like the normal Excel chart. So now what we have seen till now is the benefit of having a pivot chart where you have a huge amount of data to analyze for various parameters. You can have pivot chart instead of normal chart. It will save a lot of time of yours. The other thing it can do for you is, like you can quickly slice this data. What I mean slice is, filter this data. There is an option called slicers nowadays. So if you go to pivot chart analyze, you can you can insert slicer. So slicer is nothing but various columns you have in the data. Like we have region, right? We have location. We even have a customer. So you can have n number of slicers, but I'm not going to do each of them. I will select a few which is meaningful to me. Right? These are the slicers. What it will do, I will just show you in a while. So you can arrange it anywhere. Okay. So this is our pivot chart and these are slicers to slice it or filter it. So if I want to just see the cells of California, I just select this California and pivot chart will refresh with California data, right? If I just want the junk cell, you can see the pivot chart is refreshing itself. If I want to remove these filters, you can see at the top, it says clear filter. You can just clear filter. You can also multi-select. You can see multi-select. So you just click here and widget is selected currently. I press Control and select junk. So now 2 items are selected. Again, you can remove the filters, right? You can remove the filters from here as well. You can just have east data. You can have just west data. Likewise. So not only the analysis of pivot table through pivot chart is easy, modifying of the various criteria, but also you can have benefit of slicers, right? That is the key here. So you can get a lot of functions in pivot chart compared to normal chart. That is the way, that is the message for this case study. Before we go to the dashboard, real dashboard, I just want to show you the limitation of pivot chart. There is only one which we have mitigated to the small macro, and we have seen a lot of good features we have with pivot chart compared to the normal chart, right? So now with this knowledge we have, let's try to create a dynamic dashboard out of a simple data we have. So this is a a fitness enthusiast data. He is doing various workouts. He is doing various types of workout like zone 2, helix, etc. over a period of time. And he's keeping a track of his length of workout, his average output, and his average heart rate. So like, having a good output in short amount of time and keeping the heart rate is low, maybe his goal. He want to analyze this data, right? So with the same tricks, with the same tricks which we have seen, we will try to make a pivot chart dashboard systematically, right? We have seen slicers. Okay. So to make it more dynamic, like, there are 3 series over here. And if I want to have only one chart and display all these 3 series based on a drop down, what I can do is, I can create a new column over here and uh, make it whatever is selected, make it duplicated over here. So let's try to understand this. So these are our 3 parameters or 3 series we have, right? And we want to display it in a single chart one by one based on our selection. So what I will do is, I will just copy this and I will create a new sheet and make it a name as reference, just our reference, right? And I will paste this data. I will paste this data over here in a transpose way. So these are my 3 parameters. And let's create a sheet called dashboard. Right? And I will remove the grid lines from here. So in here, let's try to first have a cell, which is the controller to select the parameters. So I will go to data validation. I will allow the value in this cell. I will allow the value as list, and this list can be found. So for source of this list is in the reference, right? So this is my source, right? So this I can select any out of these 3 series which we have. I can make it some color to make it see like a input which the user has to enter. And also I can make it white text, bold one, and centered. And also say select parameter, right? And I will change the alignment to like this. So here we are instructing the user to select the parameter with the help of data validation, right? So next thing I can do is, yeah, okay, someone is asking to repeat the step for data validation. So data validation is nothing but allowing a limited number of values, right? You can use data validation in many ways, but one way is to allow a list of values. You can allow only list of values, and the source for that list, which we have already created here, it can be anything, right? It can be anything. So this is our source for this list, and which can be allowed in this cell, right? This is one we have just created. You can also have something directly, like rather than writing it down, pointing it to a cell, you can just write yes, comma, no, right? So you can have now 2 values only, yes or no. So this is the data validation, which helps us to create some dynamization, right? So once this cells is created, we want to modify the chart, right? So I can mirror this selected parameter column. Whatever is selected, I can duplicate it here, right? And make the chart out of this G series. Rather than each of this series, I can just create a chart for this series, right? So what I will do is, I create a formula, a dynamic formula. So first let us bring that value here. So the selected value is mirrored or duplicated for my easy reference over here, right? So I can write an index and match formula. And one more thing is, like for data like this, to make it auto expand when we insert a pivot chart. So to make sure the data is auto expanding, what we can do is we can insert a table. So for inserting a table is very easy. You can go to insert and select table. The only advantage of it is it will auto expand the data which is using in the pivot chart or pivot table keeps expanding rather than what we have selected over here. The data over here is not auto expanding, like if you go to select data, it's already selected, but you cannot auto expand it. But with the help of table, you can do so. We will see in action. You will see that here. So I'm just inserting a table. There are many advantages of having a table inserted for when you are creating a dashboard or trying to achieve dynamization. There are a lot of benefits, right? So I will write an index and match formula to dynamically mirror one of these three series in this column, whatever is selected in that dashboard, right? So I'm just trying to add index and match formula. So I'm indexing, what I'm indexing is this part, right? This entire up to average heart rate. So this entire part I'm selecting as an array, the base array, indexing that. And you can see with the help of like if as we have inserted table, how nicely Excel has written what we have selected. The table one, the date column to average heart rate column is so much meaningful rather than just a reference to column name like A, B, C, something like that. So once that is selected, what I will do is which row number I want to grab value from this selected range. So in this particular cells reference, it's the first row which we need to take the data out of, right? Like in this entire array, whatever is in the first row, I want that. So rather than writing it manually one, because in the next time it will be two, the row number I will define dynamically, like I will give the reference of this cell itself, or I can give a reference of H2, the existence cell, to make it more meaningful. So the result of this, row H2 will be 2. Press F9 to see the result of this. You can see the result is 2, right? I can press escape and again I will, it's just to explain you what is the result of that argument which you have just written for row number. So for row number, what I will write is row. I will select the any existence cells in the row number 2. So it will give me result as 2, but I want the value from first row. I want to tell the Excel that you have to take the value from the first row, right? So dynamically we have achieved that 2 minus 1 is 1. Next time it will be 3 minus 1 will be 2. So second row it will take the value from. For column number, we want to match it with the match function. So what we will look up is the value in which we have mirrored it over here, right? Or what we can do is we can directly link it to here, this cell, and press F4 because this will be constant for each of the argument. The lookup array for match function will be this headings, right? And we want the exact match, right? Okay, I have to close the bracket for index as well. You can see with the help of table, I just inserted a formula for one cell here, and it does it for other cells automatically. You see that? So now you can see the current selection is length in here, right? So the length column is mirrored over here. If it would have been other thing like the average output, you can see the average output is mirrored over here. You can see, which is dynamically we have created this series. So if I just create a plot this series and with the help of this data validation, I can dynamically change it. You can see that. Yes, someone is asking why -1. Yeah, it's understood why it's confusing. Let me explain you this in here. So if I press F9, currently the value is 2, right? Over here in the next formula, it will be 3, right? You can see. Now, when I indexing in the first argument, in this first argument, I selected the data from here. The array is this one, right? So I have selected the array from here, and I want the data from this row to be mirrored. So if I just press, like if I remove this -1, let me do that and show you what's happening. So what you will do is, like in this array, from here, whatever is in the second row, the second row is 152 is mirrored over here. But I want in the from the first row. So that's the reason why I have deducted -1, right? Even if you don't want to deduct the -1 from here, and to fix this, what you can do is, you can change the first part. You can select the array from, instead of the A2, you can try selecting it from the first row itself, including the headings. You got my point? So now what we have selected is the heading as well and everything from this part, right? So now our formula will be the same. It will still work. It's just from where you are indexing. I was indexing from here. So it was the first row which I want the data from. So a row H2 -1, I have written it. But now as you have queried, someone has queried, so I have indexed it now from this part. And then I want the second row data over here. So now I have not written -1, right? It's very simple. If you try to experiment, you will have the data like I have included in this link, which when you get the presentation, you will have the solved files as well as the raw files in this respective sort links, right? You can download it and exercise it. You exercise it and it will be fine, right? So now we have done some kind of dynamization. Let's try to make a pivot chart out of it, pivot chart out of it. Also, once you are in the table, you can see the table name from here. So when I insert a pivot chart, like the table 1 is selected. If it is not written, I can manually write table 1 over here. And I want to in the existing worksheet, that is dashboard, right? You can place it anywhere and press OK. So now we have a pivot table and pivot chart. Let's nicely put some analysis over here. So what I will do, I will select data and put it in one axis, right? So what Excel nowadays does is, whenever it identifies a date column, it group dates into months to make life easy for us. But in this case, we don't want it. So I just remove the months and I just want the simple dates, right? And the selected parameter data I want to be plotted. I want to be plotted in the values. What I will do is I will delete this legends and I will delete this chart title because I don't want it. And once the data is chart is selected, you can go to design and switch to some of the pre-configured chart styles. It will make more good. Also, now you can do one more thing is, you move this pivot table in the dashboard. You don't want the pivot table. So you can just make any selective within pivot table and move this pivot table to a existing sheet called, say, for example, any sheet you can do. Let's move it to here, right? Because we don't want. Okay. Okay. So this is our chart, right? And I make it large enough. And now you can see if I select various values from here, it will keep on changing because it's based on this selected parameter column, which is dynamically changing because of this index match formula, right? See, now what more I can do? We have already seen slicers, right? We have already seen slicers, but one more analysis type is it's kind of slicer, but they call it as timeline. Okay, Yagna Dutt is saying, please repeat which part, the moving of pivot chart. I think that is he's referring to. So you can move this chart anywhere, like with this. So you can also move it to a new worksheet. Anywhere you can do it. See, this error is coming because I have a clipboard manager which is not able to handle this kind of copy and paste of pivot tables. So there is that error, nothing else, but it's currently moving. So I can name it as pivot chart dashboard. Like, because see, the problem is uh, we cannot just have pivot chart. We have to have a linked, pivot table with it. But in the dashboard, I don't want pivot table to be visible because it doesn't look more meaningful to me to have this kind of tabular data. If you see, if you delete this, just this pivot table, the pivot chart will be gone. If you refresh it, it will be gone because there is no underlying, it's linked to that pivot table. So you cannot delete that, even I cannot control Z it. So let's delete it as well. So the thing to understand is, like the pivot table and pivot chart are married together. There cannot be only one of them. Like, yeah, you can have only pivot table, but you cannot have only pivot chart. With pivot chart, you have to have underlying pivot table. That is the key. So let's try to insert a pivot chart again. Table 1, we want to put it in the existing worksheet, right? Okay. Again, we will place the dates over here quickly. And I don't want months grouping. I don't want Excel to do smart stuff for me. And I will change the design to something like this one. And I move this chart pivot table to an existing set called this, right? Now I can make it a little bit bigger. Yeah. So once I select the length, it will keep on updating it. So we have already seen slicers to make analysis of it. There is one more thing called timeline. If there is a date column in your data, Excel will able to insert a timeline for that. And what it mean by timeline, let's see that. So what it will do is, it will give us some interface where you can quickly just see the June data or May data, or you can even do it by quarters. Currently we have only 1 quarter data, but you can see like 2 quarter data, only this quarter data, which is blank. Even yearly analysis you can do out of your data. So data is something different. You cannot have slicers, for that. You can have slicers, but it will not be meaningful, so they have the timeline. And also this timeline, you can do a lot of, customization to match your style. Currently it's matching, but still you can do a lot of stuff like pre-designed stuff, or you can even modify it yourself, like a lot of stuff you can do from this formatting thing. You can change the caption as well. And if there is more than one chart, you can also, do a connection. Like with this change, you can like we will see that in a minute, the report connection. Let's try to move ahead and insert another slicers, So like day is Sunday, Monday, likewise. So yeah, so you can arrange it nicely over here. And what you can do is, a slicer also, you can do a lot of customization. Like instead of a 1 column slicer, you can make it as a 2 column slicer. You can make it little big, right? So it's very customizable based on your need, and it will look good, Let's add one more slicer, and that is maybe type of workout. Okay. So now with this in place, I can do a lot of stuff. Like I just want to do a zone 2 workout analysis. Like in zone 2, how I am doing the length, which day I'm doing, how much length, how much output is there, how much heart rate is there for only just zone 2 workout. I just want to see when I am taking rest day, like 6th May, 12th May, likewise I'm taking the rest, right? Or I can also see like how I am doing on Sundays. Like I have taken one Sunday off. So a lot of analysis can be done. Now, see, now the client says, also want to see when you select Sundays, there is only thing written as the average heart rate. I just want to also see how I'm doing, like which type of workout I want to do on Sundays. So I will insert a new chart, which is a pie chart, pie pivot chart for type of workout. Let's try to do that. And then I will show you one important, key to this dashboard, and that is connecting these slicers and timeline to both of this chart, the one we are going to create now and this one. And it is really making us our dashboard is dynamic. So let's try to insert a new chart based on the client requirement. So I'll again insert a pivot chart. Okay, the table 1 existing seat, and I will say this area, right? Okay. Okay. Now what I can do is I can write type of workout, and I can again say type of workout, but this time it's a count of type of workout. It can be some also, like depending upon the field you are using. Currently I want the count, right? And now again I want this pivot table to be here, so I will move it to something else. And while you do that, always remember, like if you don't move it just right side, surrounding to this area, because if you expand this pivot table, it will overwrite the existing pivot table. So make it a room for it to expand. This is just to take care it doesn't go corrupt or there is no errors. So now I have this analysis, but I don't want to have this kind of boring columnar chart. Now I want something else. So what I can do is I can change the chart type here as well, just like you do in the normal chart. So I want it to be a pie or even a 3D pie, right? And also I can customize it, right? We can also split it out, like we can make a little room between each pipe section. A lot of analysis, the like same formatting you can do over here as well. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's select one of this from here itself. Okay. Yeah, but I think this is good for now. Let's go with this only because we want to cover a more important aspect. So now I can say that on Sundays, I am doing majorly zone 2 workout. You can see. Even in the total also I'm doing zone 2 more, but still you can do a lot of analysis, like between some time, like for example, only June, like between only some period of time, how many zone 2 I am doing. For example, only this 7 days. So actually, zone 2 are more of in the data. It's not a good data, means it's just dummy data. But if you have more meaningful data, you can do a lot of analysis of this, right? And also I think this is not refreshing. See, Currently, it's not refreshing, it's staying still. That's the point I'm referring to. So you can do, what you can do is, you can select this slicer and go to report connection. So currently only pivot table 5 is connected to this slicer and not this one. See, that is the problem. So if I just select now few of them, you can see the analysis on Wednesdays. Actually, let's clear the date filter. Now it's give more analysis, you see that? So we have only connected one of them, I think. Let's connect every one of them, which both of this pivot chart, even this one. So now your this thing is really dynamic. See, even that you can do a lot of here analysis over here as well. So this is your dynamic dashboard you have created. You can do a lot of other thing to make it more good, like so making these 2 column and make the height as same for each one of them, like 1.51. So I will make the height as 1.51. So this is as already 1.51, and for this I will make it as, to make it more appealing, 51. Okay, and you can align them. You can align them in the middle and distribute them horizontally, right? Also the same thing you can do it over here, like the size is 3 here. So you can do the same thing for this as well. And they are already aligned, right? So this is your dashboard, which we have created, which is dynamic, very easy to create. I can make it more big and try to fit in, try to fit everything across the 2 charts. Like, so now it's looking good. If someone sees this, also you can do a lot of more like full screen thing, macro and everything. But for now, it's good analysis point of view. You can do it from here. So we are using pivot chart to analyze this data, and using slicer connected with both these charts to analyze this data, right? So only zone 2 will have only 1 pi, because as type of workout we have selected only one, right? So this is the dashboard you can create with simple pivot charts and slicers nowadays. Earlier it used not, in earlier version you will not find slicers. I think in 2012 13 onwards you will have that slicers to analyze the data. So I think we have covered the last part of the case studies as well. So what we have seen till now is, a simple secondary axis chart type. We have seen the dynamic target line chart. We have seen the Gantt chart, also seen the various stock charts available. And also now the difference between the normal Excel charts and the pivot charts. We have seen the advantages of pivot chart. We have seen the one disadvantage which can be mitigated, that is the auto refresh thing with the VBA code. And then with this learning, we have done a dynamic dashboard using pivot charts with slicers and timeline. You can arrange it anywhere likewise. So the key to using the charts is dynamic. So the key is to merge your existing knowledge of other functions with your chart knowledge, and it will make you more data visualization guy, and as well as make your analysis more good. So that is for today. If you have any questions, although we have covered it when we are doing the stuff, But still, if you have any questions, you can write it down and I will solve it. Yeah, you can write in the chat box. So while we wait for the question, let me, really show you the client file for this. Actually, this is a real client project and we have done more functionalities in this. So let us see that in action. Let me open that file for you. Oh yeah, one thing is missing, like we have not covered that part yet, and that is the auto refresh. So now if I add one more data over here, so now you see the Excel table auto expands itself. Now we are still within the table. And that is 1st July, maybe Thursday. And I have done Helix workout. My length may be 120 minutes and average output can be 240. So I'm just entering a random data. And this now will be in my dashboard already as 1st July. You see that? Because we have the Excel table in place, it's taken care of the auto expanding of the data. So that is the advantage of having a table. So you keep on adding new data and it will keep on expanding itself, right? Likewise. So you can see the data is auto expanding over here. So let me show you one other file, rather than just this project. It is more important if you see the other file where we have done the similar thing for a client. So I'm opening one similar file which we have created dashboard, but with other functionalities. So let me try to explain you that while I wait for the questions. So here, this is a kind of, clients have some task which he is doing during the day, and he has written this down over here. So I have created this tool for him. It is a table. You can see the table design is there because we are within the table, and you can see this alternate coloring thing is there. So which can be achieved with conditional formatting. I have a helper column which tracks of which cell you are in. So with the trick, okay, let me unprotect it and then unhide it. Right. So this is the trick here, which takes up like enter ones and zero with this offset formula. Like it checks whether the date in column A is same as the previous one. If it is not, it will change the 1 to 0, and if it is 0, 0 to 1, right? So with offset formula, I will not go into this, but I'm just want to show you the functionalities. Okay, let me close this. Actually, this might be the live file. Let me create a copy of this in my desktop and then open it from there. So yeah, I was talking about the coloring with is done with the help of conditional formatting. So if you go to conditional formatting, you can see the 1 is the blue color, 0 is the green color, which is achieved with this formula and hidden in here, right? This one. And see, this is the dashboard the client wants. Like when he has done 5-minute task for his day. So all the similar analysis with these two chart types we have done over here as well, you can see. So a lot of dashboards can be created with this trick of pivot chart and having a subtype of slicers and timeline. Yeah. Okay. And here also, it's auto expanding due to Excel table. So if I write anything like ABC, it will not only auto expand, it will enter the today's date as well. There is a formula for that as well. So combine your skills of Excel table, uh, conditional formatting, or even data validation with Excel chart to make more sense. What I also done is to make client easy life, like life's easy. I have inserted a ribbon, customized ribbon, where there is a macro for insert time. So it will insert the current time for client. So client don't have to manually do it. So once he finish it, he again insert the time, and the difference of minutes is spent in is written down over here, and it will be present in my this chart as well. Currently it's not, the date is not there. So if I remove that, so now you can see the 0.13 which we just entered is there. So Excel table, inserting an Excel table is very important in making the dashboard with Excel pivot chart a dynamic one. And this also we have that macro to auto refresh pivot chart, because that is the only limitation we have. So yeah, I think there is no question. Amit says very useful. Thank you. Thank you, Amit. So I think I conclude this session of charts. You will have the presentation, and in that you will have the link to download the files. Yeah, someone is asking to have that macro for auto refresh. So let's go to this one, and you can Google it up. Like I use a lot of macros many days, but I always do it Google. I don't know how to write macro. Still, I build a lot of utilities or tools. So Bhavesh is asking how to highlight wall row with unique color using conditional formatting. So that is very easy to achieve once you have ones and zeros. The key is in this formula. Let me show you that. The key is in this formula. What it does is, like it checks that a cell in this row, that is A378, is equal to the one cell above it. But I have done it dynamically, because if you delete a cell, the formula might go corrupt. So I have used the offset formula to check that. And if it is true, then whatever is the value in above cell, that is J 377, again I have done the offset formula to reach there, like one row above and 9 columns in the right side. Whatever is value is there, I want it to be repeated if this is the same. If it is different, then 1 minus that particular thing, right? So with this, I have HF zeros and ones as the date change, and it helps in my conditional formatting. You see that ones are this color, zeros are this color. Very easy. If you try it, you can also achieve it. I use it a lot in my tools, this particular trick, to make it more visually good. Yeah, thank you, Vaibhav. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Rusil. Thank you, Vivek. Yeah, if you have any question, it will be more, you can write it down. Yeah, the files will be there with the presentation. There is a link where you can download the raw file as well as the sold files.
Also, sir, if you can share it with the Ahmedabad branch, we will share with all the participants.
Yes, I will be sending this PDF presentation to Ahmedabad branch only.
Okay, so if there is So thank you for the wonderful session. I hope all the participants had a great learning today. I would request CA Bhavesh Rathod to propose a vote of thanks to sir.
Good evening, everyone. With today's session, we have completed this 5 days Excel series. On behalf of Ahmedabad branch of ICAI, I propose a hearty vote of thanks to today's speaker and Excel guru, Mr. Dhaval Paun, for sparing his valuable time and enlightening us with in-depth analysis, excellent coverage of different types of charts in Excel. All participants have gained very good insight of using charts in Excel for improved data analysis and exploration. I would also like to thank all participants for attending this virtual event out of their busy schedules. I would also like to thank managing committee members and coordinators for organizing such a useful and wonderful event. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So see you guys soon. Thank you for attending, and thank you Ahmedabad ICI and the team to invite me. See you soon. Bye-bye.